What's up? What's up? It is Tuesday, September 23rd. You see what we're going to do today? We're going to review that first month of school. So let's just talk about 5-sentence paragraphs, okay? We're not going to get too crazy in here, but again, 5-sentence paragraphs. So few things. Begin with the topic sentence. State what the paragraph is about. Make it interesting. Make sure they're indent. That was one of the biggest problems out of all the things I saw with your guys' first month of school paragraphs was that a lot of people did not indent or capitalize I. So let's keep going. So let's just look at an example of a first sentence. So last summer, my family went on an amazing picnic in the park. Now, how was the picnic? It was amazing. Where was it at? It was in the park. Who went? Family. Where was it at? It was last summer in the park. Okay, so that, or when was it at? So that kind of is an interesting sentence, has a lot of details, but it's not overly long for anyway. But because they added detail, then it gives us a vision of like what was going on. Next, you're going to have 3 detailed sentences. Remember, we only have a 5-sentence paragraph. So again, 3 detailed sentences that have to do with what? The amazing picnic in the park with the family last summer. All right, cool. So now let's go ahead and read this. So last summer, my family went on an amazing picnic in a park. We brought freshly made ham sandwiches, apple pie, and ice cold lemonade. While we enjoyed our picnic lunch under a tree, a small gray squirrel crawled close to us, and suddenly the squirrel grabbed my delicious piece of pie off my plate and scurried off. Now, here's the thing about this, okay? Here's the thing about this. They added a lot so you could see all the details. So how was the pie? The pie was delicious. How did the squirrel move? It crawled, so it was slow, then fast, right? Scurry. Then also it was gray. So again, they're adding words because they could have just said a squirrel grabbed a piece of pie off my plate. But because they added these describing words, it gave us like a vision of what was going on. So that's what you want to do to make yours interesting. Also like the lemonade, they said it was ice cold. Saying it was ice cold, that adds again what I would call some flavor or some details or something interesting into your actually into your paragraph. Just like freshly made ham sandwiches. They could have said we brought ham sandwich, but because they said freshly made, it made me think of like how you go about making a sandwich, okay? So that's how you want your paragraph to be. Add details. Now, let's go ahead and keep going. So ending sentence, conclusion sentence, right? Like anything like that you want to call it that. You want to restate the topic of the paragraph, keep it interesting, make it a closing sentence so your reader knows this is the end of the paragraph. Okay. Now, last summer, my family went on an amazing picnic. Now, this is how they ended it, right? Here's how they ended it. We couldn't believe this hungry squirrel had invited himself to our picnic. Boom. Now, that's a pretty good closing. It doesn't necessarily restate, but it gives some closure to what's going on. Here's a couple things. Do you believe this was everything that happened at the picnic? Hopefully, the answer is, you're saying is no, this is not everything. This is just part of it. And the reason that they didn't say everything is because you only have 5 sentences. Some of you guys were like 8 sentences. Some of you guys wrote a whole essay. You wrote a whole 1-page essay, even though you were only asked to write 5 sentences about your first month of school. So this is also important to say you've got to cut down. Cut to what's important. Cut to what's the most interesting. Cut to what is the biggest thing that you can talk about that kind of sums up your first month of school, just like they were summing up what happened at the picnic. There was other things. People went on the swings. They probably played a game. They did other stuff. But because you only have 5 sentences, and I would say a max, when someone's asked you to write a paragraph, max should be 8 sentences. Once you get past 8 sentences, you're moving into 2-paragraph territory. And I told some of you guys as much. Okay, so let's just look at some, oh, my bad. Before we look at some of the people's writings, go ahead and take this note. So again, pause the screen. We already went over these things, but pause the screen. Take this note inside of your journal. Again, pause the screen and take this note inside of your journal. Write an interesting topic sentence that is indented. That's mad important. Write 3 detailed sentences that are about the topic sentence, and then write a closing sentence that restates the topic. So get those 3 points in there. This will help you with your writing regardless of what you're writing about, whether it's in history, science, anything that you're writing about. ELA, you're just writing any kind of paragraph or essay. This will be helpful for you if you keep these things in mind. All right, let's just review a few things. Then versus than, okay versus okay, and because versus cuz, or cuz cuz. That was another one. Capitalizing I's, beginning sentences with an and or a but. Like, these were all problems in there, so we're just going to look through a few of them. We're not going to look at everything. So okay versus okay. So this okay is all right. Technically it is a word, but just use the spelled out. Whenever you're doing professional or academic writing, then you should just try and spell out the words. I also have gotten away from using contractions. You guys are like, what? That's like can't versus could not, right? So again, I get away. Don't, right? Do not. I just gotten away from contractions, so I just spell everything out. Okay, then versus than, this was a little bit of an issue. Just remember, then is about time, so I'm going to go to practice first, then I'm going to go to McDonald's. So then is about time, than is about a comparison. I like Mrs. Ortega's class more than Mr. Farr's class. 6 is less than 7. Okay, right, so there we go. Again, comparisons, okay? This was another common issue that I saw, is a lot of people did not indent their first sentence, and I saw a lot of formatting that was weird like this. So I'm like, get rid of these spaces, because these spaces are just out of there. So get those taken care of, right? And get those so that it's all left adjusted, and the only space you should see is this indentation right here, which is to signal this is the first sentence of the paragraph. Also, if you look, I not capitalized, I not capitalized, I not capitalized. So make sure to get those capitalized. All of those I's should be capitalized, okay? Cool. Let's keep it pushing. Now, we're just going to look at this one, right? And this is just some people's writings. Don't worry if it's yours. You're going to fix all the things that we're talking about right here. So this one says, my first month of school is going good, not bad. Now, we don't really need this not bad, so we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that not bad part. Then they said, I'm going to move myself up out the way if I can. I like my teachers this year. They're funny. Now, this is really too short to be a sentence, 2 words, so we're going to get rid of that and just say, I like my teachers this year, and I would put because they're funny. That's cool. I'm with that. I made new friends, which is good. I like making new friends sometimes. So somehow we've got to combine these 2 sentences. We don't have enough room on here to write it. But I would say, sometimes I like making new friends, and this year I've made a lot. Boom. That would be a way to combine these 2. But these really should be, like from here, bam, to here, really should be the same sentence. Now, also, do not start a sentence with and. So then you could just start my, because you're starting a new topic, so it doesn't have to and onto that one. So my, and then this says grads. I'm certain they meant grades are doing okay, I guess. Now, I'm going to get rid of this I guess, because again, this is kind of like the way that we kind of talk. My grades are doing okay, I guess. But you could say my grades are doing okay, and then we do want to spell this okay out. So we'll just go O-K-A Y, and then I like math a lot more this year, right? It's easy, but I know it will not stay like that, or stay like, oh, and I fixed it like that, right? So I like math a lot more this year because, right? So you could put because right here, right? And then say because it's easy, I know it will not stay like that. Okay, I like reading too, but not really. Now here's some of these things where it's like, don't be wishy-washy. State your claim. Do you like reading or not? Like, just figure that out. Also, again, but, get that but out the front. So no ands or buts at the beginning. I do have a favorite teacher. Now, here's kind of a problem. They could have said teachers, right? Which is fine, but they use singular here, but then they mention 2 people. So also, this is something you may or may not know. Miss Delgadillo is married, so then that means she is a Mrs., not Miss, okay? So she's a Mrs., not a Miss. So they could have said, I do have favorite teachers, Mrs. Delgadillo and Mr. Farr. Then they could be like, they're finally funny and they're nice. Now, this is an interesting thing. When you say they're finally funny, what are we trying to say there? And so you could say something like this. I do have favorite teachers, Mrs. Delgadillo and Mr. Farr. They're funny, they're nice, and I would get rid of nice because nice is not necessarily a good descriptor. Instead, you can say they're funny, right? They're funny, always in a good mood. So comma, they're always in a good mood. And this is where I'd put the and I would get rid of this. Not cranky like most of the teachers I've had, period. Get rid of this and. We're not beginning sentences with and. That is how my first month of school is. So again, not a crazy amount of changes, but definitely some changes needed to go from like good or average good to great, right? Like it's a few changes and we can get to great. All right, let's just keep looking at a few things. All right. Boom. Let's go to this next one. So this person says it's finally the second month of school, but let's talk about the first month. In the first month of school, for me, it was okay, but for others, it could have been the worst month of their lives or the best month of their lives. My first month of school didn't go so well. So it's kind of like a little bit all over the place. So you just want to try and keep the idea. Remember, this is about you and your first month of school. So when you start talking about all kinds of other people, then it kind of brings a little bit of confusion, okay? Boom. Let's move to this one. This school month was all right. Like all of my classes and teachers are nice, but this school year is good so far, but it can be better. Whoa. Now, as we're reading, if you keep reading, the only period is right here. This is literally one sentence. So, this is how I start. This month of school was all right, period, right? You could have said there. Then you could have said, I like all my classes and teachers because they are nice, period. Get rid of this but. So that's how you can start fixing that. Because you got to start breaking down some sentences in there because this person used all one sentence. Okay, let's keep going here. Now, this was a problem. They said my first mouth of school, right? So that goes into saying, please pre-read your document before you turn it in. Also here, this is fist mouth of school. I'm presuming they meant first month, but again, this was misspelled. Month was misspelled multiple times there. I think it was misspelled one more time. Also, capitalize the I. Capitalize the I. Capitalize the I. Capitalize the I. Indent. So they have all the ingredients for a good meal here, for a good paragraph, cooking up a good meal, right? But they just got to make some small changes here, okay? And then let's go to this one. The thing about this one is this. Don't be repetitive. Don't be repetitive. The first month of school was very exhausting, but fun at the same time. First of all, it's exhausting again. So they come with that. Then they say, last of all, it's also exhausting. This is why some of the suggestions that were given to you were like, don't be repetitive, vary your words, and some suggestions of words were given that you could do. Now, you could look for synonyms in Google. You could just say Google synonyms. You actually, in Google Docs, you can actually do that as well, right? So you can do that as well. So you can look for that. Then at the very end, they said it was tiring. So I'm assuming this person is very tired, but you want to vary up your words. A lot of times you guys said, my first month of school was good. My first month of school was good because you just said the same thing again. You don't need to say the same thing. You already said it was exhausting, or you already said it was good, or you already said it was bad. Just continue on from there. Now, you could say things are up or down. You could say it's been confusing, right? And we'll get to that. So this person said, my first month of school, again, indent, please, for the love of everything sacred, indent. My first month of school was bad. Now, I drew a line through this part because it says it has been bad because you just said it was bad right there. You do not need to say that again here, right? So I say just get rid of that. I hate school, and I'm okay with that, and I want to go home. This is where they start adding some flavor. And also, when it's finally time to go home, I have to go on the bus with noisy, obnoxious children who are annoying and sticky. So they added a whole bunch of describing words, which makes me know how their bus ride is. I'm imagining people throwing paper airplanes and yelling and the bus being all chaotic because of the way that you described it. And then get rid of this but, and then just capital that and say, there has been good because I like your class because you're nice. Now here's the thing. You're not writing a letter to me. You are writing a paragraph. It's a general audience. So should have said something like, I like Mr. Farr's class because he is nice. That would have been cool. Again, this is not directly to me, okay? I do want to say this. This first month of school has been, and I like how they use these words, speedy and confusing. So this lets me know it has gone by fast, and for them, it has been somewhat confusing, right, because of the speed. But I do want to say this also, please, for the love of everything sacred, indent, okay? Now, your feedback's going to kind of look like this. We're not going to read through all this feedback. You want to read through what's working well, and then what are the suggestions for improvement. And again, there's sometimes there's words there for you, okay? Last thing is this. Read the feedback for your paragraph in the comment sections on Canvas, then reread your paragraph, fix any issues, and resubmit your paragraph. All right, y'all. Peace. And as usual, I'm smarter than I think, I'm braver than I seem, I'm stronger than I feel, and I can do difficult things. Peace.